Buongiorno, our student quiz. Welcome to Student Quiz. My name is Frank. I'm from the University of Applied Sciences in Rapperswil, Switzerland. And I have two reasons to talk to you. Whoops, good start. One is student and the other is quiz. Student because we think that Moodle content is rather teacher-driven and we wanted to engage students to create Moodle content by themselves. And quiz because students just like quizzes for multiple reasons. I will address this later on. This graph here shows the activities of my students during the course of a semester. And I guess you know what happened at the very end. I think students all over the world, they pay high importance to exams. And that's why they often ask for old exams, for multiple choice questions, for quizzes in order to prepare themselves. That is good, but it has a little downside because you have to create all these questions. It's hard work, no? For all the many quizzes and self-tests that you want to provide. And then there's usually this guy here, the poor teacher, and he's doing it all by himself or herself. And that's exactly the point where student quiz comes in. With student quiz, we want to enable students to create these questions by themselves and to share them in a common question pool. And when we implemented this, it's student-driven, this I already commented, and it is collaborative. Collaborative also in the sense that the questions you are getting from your students might not be really the quality you want. So they can improve, like in a crowd intelligence system, the quality by commenting, by rating the questions. It's an ongoing story, a little bit like in Wikipedia. Then, with the time, you will collect lots and lots of questions. It depends on the size of your cohort. For example, me as a teacher, maybe during the course of a semester, I can create 20, 30, 40 good questions. I hope they are good. But if I have 100 students and each of them is providing one question, I get completely different numbers. So we have filters, because the questions become so many, that you can create the quiz that you want to learn with, like the most difficult questions or the latest questions or the ones that you have not yet answered. There are many possibilities. Then, when students work their way through the quizzes, student quiz is collecting usage data about the quality of the question, how difficult was the question, but also about the students themselves. And this we can use for gamified approaches, later I show you, but also for the personal learning assistance. It's a crowdsourced system, but if I'm student Paul, I would like to know how I perform in comparison to my fellow students, and then the personal learning assistance shows me exactly where I stand. It's like a learning cockpit. And good news also for teachers, the questions created in student quiz, they can be shared, they can be reused in standard Moodle quizzes. So you just export them and use them wherever you want. And of course it's open source and so on at my university. Now, the time does not allow a real demo. I have only screenshots here. I show you some important screenshots. When you create a student quiz, it's just like an activity, like what we've seen many times now, the H5P activity. You create a student quiz activity, and then this screen might be interesting, where you can allow different kinds of question types. Maybe you want to allow only multiple choice questions, so you tick it, or you just leave everything open, up to you. You can enforce commenting, you can enforce rating. Then there's another screen asking you whether you want to make the students anonymous. I strongly recommend that you run it anonymous, so that they don't know each other. Whether new questions become published right away, or whether they need some sort of improvement by the teacher. And then for gamification purposes, we have different numbers that you can configure. For example, to create a question, you get that many points. If the quality is good, depending on the stars that your community assigns to you, you get more points. If you answer a question correctly, you get 2 points. If you answer it incorrectly, you get -1 point. But you can create your own incentives by setting these figures. And maybe you want yourself be excluded from the game, then you can click the teacher or otherwise anybody in your course can participate. Now let's go to the main screen. That's what the main screen looks like. And it's a little complicated, so I focus on different points here. Up there, you can see it already encircled. That's when you want to create a new question. Okay, that's a creative moment. But most of the time, we'll probably work with this block here. That is a list of questions already available. And in this course, for example, it was 560 questions. Of course, they are paged here. And this is a view of one of my students. And this student here is Gianluca Zanetti. And you can, here it's pointed out, you see that all the others are anonymous, so he has no clue who created this question, only his own questions. And because it's his own, he could like delete it. He has the right to delete it, but of course he cannot delete questions from other people. You can also see here with the cross or the check mark, these questions are either approved or disapproved by the professor. Let's look into different other areas. This here is a filter section. Again, you get lots and lots of questions. Here it was 560. You don't want to run a quiz with 560 questions. You want to focus. So that's where you filter. And there's also show more. There are many, many more filters hidden behind the show more. You can combine them. And then this area here, this is what we call the personal learning assistance, my progress. For example, Gianluca, my student here, he answered 370 questions correctly, but he failed on 89 questions, and 91 he has not yet answered. So he sees it right away. Also, the second bar here, he has turned in so and so many questions that he created. 9 of them were approved by the teacher, 7 were denied, and there is none that is get open. Then the figures that you saw before, sorry, I missed this here. When you click on more, when you want to know more details, then this is the next screen that pops up, where in the left column, you see your own statistics. For example, percentage of your correct answers is 56%. And here on the right side, I see the statistics from my community. So this student is just a little bit above average. His community was 55% at that time. Of course, it changes all the time. Let's go on with this screen. This is Gianluca wants to know where do I stand in relation to my community. So right now, he is in the top 10 ranking list. He is number 5. He doesn't know the names above him or below him, but he sees how many points do I need to get in order to make it to place number 4. A little bit like competition creation, no? Some students like it, others maybe not so much. And here you can also click on more, because Gianluca will not know this 987 points. How do I actually get that? And then here is another screen with the exact math behind it, how these points were created. Okay, now this was if you want to compare yourself with your community. But there's another level of comparison on the level of each question. So imagine you are Gianluca and you answered this question here, this data warehouse question. Then you see this yellow asterisks and bulbs and also the blue background. The blue background is the community, what we measured from the community. So for example here, the community assigned 2 stars to this question. Not really a very good question, but yeah, 2 stars better than 1 star, right? But Gianluca, he assigned only 1 star. So he is a little stricter than his community. It's also quite a nice comparison. And it's the same with difficulty. This question was incredibly difficult for him. He answered it 7 times. The last answer was wrong. And his community did slightly better. So this seems to be a difficult question. All right, and then, of course, you want to start a quiz. That's the button that you click after you filtered, and then when you are in a quiz, it just looks like any Moodle quiz. It just looks like any Moodle quiz. Question after question, next, next, next. You probably know this, I guess. The only thing that we changed here is this one. So now you have a rating option. After you answered the question, I thought that's the very best moment when you saw it for the first time. Now you make up your mind, do I like it, I don't like it, and that's the moment when we ask your rating. And another thing is you can comment on the question. So maybe I'm not happy with the solution, or I want to improve it a little bit, I would type some notes in there, and the author would receive an email notification about my message. All right, so that was the screenshots, and now if you're into buzzwords, these are buzzwords that have slightly to do with student quiz. Some more, some less. Cooperation, you're not alone. I think you saw it, no? My students now work. I am still involved as a coach because I have to approve those questions or not approve. No, nobody's forcing me, but I would strongly suggest this. Then collaboration, create and share. We have here, it's a crowd intelligence system with the rating and commenting feature that you saw. We have a personal learning assistance. It's gamified with this top 10 approach. So we try to foster competition there. And words that Martin Dubiamas likes a lot, that constructionism. It's good to answer a question. We can learn, but I hope you agree. It is so much better now if you create a question by yourself. If you ever explain something to maybe your little brother or your little sister, you might know about this phenomenon. And you can run a flipped classroom scenario. So students create your questions first. I come in a little later with my approval, with my commenting, and I try to drive up the quality of the student quiz. And I also have to add inspiration. Students' creativity often rocks. I'm so often surprised what my students created. So, just some experiences that we collected. I have now more than 550 institutions using student quiz. It's a plugin, right? Available in the Moodle plugin directory. And I know only a few of them. The ones that send requests, that engage with me, most of them are anonymous to me, unfortunately. And this is, for example, the University of Otago in New Zealand. And they were a little bit scared. They started in the Faculty of Medicine. I was also scared. Medicine, and then students create the questions. I hope nobody dies. But then, the students created quite many questions in the different disciplines. And then they gave another course free for the fifth year students, like a revision course that they created by themselves. And they were really proud. They collected almost 6,000 questions there. It's a treasure. I don't know how much money you would pay for 6,000 questions. Not all of them will be good. I'm usually getting like 20% trash. But I'm also getting 20% really good stuff that inspires me a lot, and I couldn't do it any better. And now University of Otago gave it free to 20,000 students. Mahmoud, you are in the Open University, my biggest customer, right? With almost 200,000 students. They also want to work with it. Of course, I also work with it. Here at my university, my last course was with 84 students, and I asked each student to provide 4 questions. So it should be 320. But what they created was 540 questions, so I liked that. And this is not the really big figure. The really big figure is this one here. This is the activity report. You probably know this from Moodle. And I mean, this here completely sticks out. So student quiz makes your server running warm. It's incredible the activity that happens there. So more than 20,000 answers that I collected, during the course of a semester, I have to say, with the 84 students. Then sometimes I'm surprised the way that people use it, things that I didn't think of. For example, you probably know flashcards. And I once had a student who did not report to class, and I actually gave up on him already. I thought, he's gone. But then I was surprised. He has lots of activity on student quiz. and he was using it as a summary. So instead of reading the summaries of his peers, he was using student quiz as an interactive summary, because after answering the question, you either know whether you're wrong. Because after answering the question, you either know whether you're wrong or not. And then he focused only on the questions that he had difficulty with. That was the feedback. I asked, "What are you doing there?" And that was his statement. Okay, so all the resources of student quiz are available. Of course, the Moodle. All the resources of student quiz are available. Of course, the Moodle plugin director, but we also created a page, studentquiz.hsr.ch. We have introduction video for teachers, also for students. It also has a resource how to create a good multiple choice question. That's often the point. Sometimes students don't really know how to do that. I created just like a 4-page composition I stole it from different sources. There's a sandbox where you can just play with it without installing anything. If your admin maybe is hesitant to install it. And the feedback form, okay. And maybe here for this, student quiz, the user interface speaks Catalan and Castellano, and the documentation is also available in Castellano, not in Catalan. All right. And do you want some hints for the teacher? How much time do we have? Oh, I have 4 more minutes, yeah? So I'm using it quite extensively. And think about question types aloud. At the beginning, I gave everything. And I have IT students, and that turned out to become a mess because they tried to make tricky questions. And then when you run a quiz and every question behaves differently, a multiple choice and a single choice and a drag and drop question, then a calculated question, that is confusing. So for me, it was much better to allow only one question type. I do it with multiple choice questions. Train students how to create good questions. So this 4-page street smart sheet that I created was good enough for me. You should also provide some questions by yourself at the beginning as a starter, because I use it as a template, and then they see, yeah, that's the quality expected. Otherwise, you might collect quite many trivial questions. Require a minimum number of questions from each student if you have this feature. Then I would also try to evenly distribute it. For example, the 4 questions that I have, I ask them 1 question in the first 2 weeks of the semester, the next question is weeks 3 and 4, and so on, to have it a little bit distributed. You can create a gamified atmosphere. In my case, I can win a Raspberry Pi computer. It's $35 US, no, not too much, but they still go for that. And maybe the last here is quite important. I tell them that I might reuse good questions in the exam. You know, you mention it 2 or 3 times, that everybody gets it, and then they pay really attention. To this and take it serious. So, we are already in question and answer. I have 2 more minutes left, and I hope you have some questions for me. También puedes preguntar en castellano, entiendo castellano. In castellano fácil, ¿eh?
Hi, thank you. It seems a great tool, so congratulations. I was wondering what happens on the restart, because when you end the lecture year, what happens to the questions? Do they go through the next year? In which user? Do they go through the next year? In which user?
I start every year from scratch, because if you start a semester and then you already have a question bank with hundreds of questions, they are overwhelmed with it, they cannot yet answer it because you are just about to learn this, so that would be rather frustrating. I start all the time with an empty student quiz and then we develop it. But of course, I have the very good questions from last semester. These are my starter questions from last semester. These are my starters. In the first week, only the ones that are usable for the first semester. So that also helps me to drive quality. And if you put in these kind of questions, it gives a message to the students. This is what is expected. Did I answer?
Yes.
Thank you. Marcus had a question here. Marcus Green.
Slightly humorous. I've demonstrated it myself. I use my own questions. I wouldn't I? Because what you want is multiple choice is the obvious one, and then you want something that's really, really easy to use and requires no learning. And I recommend my own question types, gap fill and word select for that.
Is it gap fill? Okay. Thank you so much.
So, give an applause. Shall we? Yeah, this will up top now. Shall we? Yeah, this will up top now. Yes.
Okay.
Let's put something on the screen which is not Windows File Explorer, shall we? Bit of crowdsourcing. Does anyone know a website where I can put something on the screen that has like a 2-minute countdown? Does anyone know a website off the top of their head that I can do that? It's a web. I need a website where I can count down from like 2 minutes to 0. Classroom screen. Thank you. Oh, that's caps. This one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, is everyone in who wants to be in? I'm going to, yeah, cool. So my name is Doug Belshaw. I'm MoodleNet's lead at Moodle, and I have the pleasure of chairing this session. This session is a bit of an experiment. So this session gives you, the Moodle community, a chance to say some stuff. So, you know when you have a presentation and someone, is on stage, and then someone grabs the microphone and they don't really ask a question, they just go on and on about a comment. This session is all about that, right? You can grab the microphone. I think Rowan's got one there. I think there's another one here with Lee. And for a maximum of 2 minutes, you can say anything you want about Moodle, all right? Anything you want at all. And it doesn't have to have a question in it. You can just keep on making a comment, and when that's finished, I'll tell you to shut up, and you can sit down. How does that sound? Yeah? So the microphones are here. You can talk about anything to do with Moodle. You can have a rant. You can say thank you to people. You can say something which is like a wish list that you wish would happen. You can follow on from what someone's just said. You can start off with something entirely new. So does anyone have some kind of burning issue, something they'd really like to talk about, something that would make them stick up their hand and grab that microphone and be the first ever person at this MoodleMoot to start in this kind of session where you have 2 minutes? Diego.
Hello, my name is Diego. I work in Moodle, and I wanted to say something about Moodle. It's like I don't have a clue what we do, and I'm looking for somebody who can teach me. There is anybody in the audience that can teach me a little bit, or can explain me what's Moodle in 5 seconds? Anybody here? Wow, nobody knows what's Moodle. I think we've got a problem. Apart from that, this is an experiment that I wanted to do. It's like this is giving back the voice to the community. So it's anything. Could be somebody who wants to be a developer of Moodle, somebody who's looking for a job, somebody who's looking for a partner, whatever you fancy, you can say. So please, feel free to do it, okay? Thank you.
Well, I'd like the ability to explain to people who have never used Moodle and don't know what Moodle is. I'd like to explain it to them without using words Google, Facebook, or Microsoft, because you always end up mentioning Facebook, and then people say, well, why do you want to use that? And you say, that's it, I don't need 2 minutes. I just want somebody to come up with, you know, like 3 sentences to explain what Moodle is without saying the word Facebook.
Who's up for the challenge?
There's a YouTube called Moodle Explained with Lego that does it.
Next.
I can't reset this tool. Has someone used this tool before? How do you reset it back to 2 minutes? Do not recommend.
Hi, I'm Steve Rycroft from the Open University. This might be a bit of a rant. So, when I go and talk to other universities around the world and talk about Moodle, the initial reaction is kind of disappointment. They go, oh, Moodle's a bit old hat, isn't it? And I just wondered what we need to do as a collective to work on the marketing of it. So, and it sounds really negative. Open University, we're massive fans of Moodle. It's built into our strategy. But the initial reaction I always get, especially in the States, and I know there's that corporate versus open source argument, I'm always having to defend it and justify it. I'd rather start off presentations more positively, and I do. So, what am I saying? We as a collective, in this bubble, we're all big fans of Moodle. How do we, and it's perhaps related to the other observations, how do we present ourselves as a more forward-thinking collective? That's about it.
Who's up for an answer?
Hello? Hello, sorry, it's me again. We have exactly that issue in the MOD. We've got 9,500 courses, and most of them are document repositories. Everyone just goes, great, I can do that on SharePoint. So we put together a not a competence matrix, a maturity model from levels 1 to 5 with statements of what is expected in each and links from each of those levels to what we'd expect. So level 4, you may see heavy interaction integration, therefore we'd expect to see forums and blended learning solutions. What we need to tie into the MEC is a pathway of what is definable as a strong course, what is a basic course, and what actually is an exemplar course. And in doing so, we will be able to start all the presentation of, actually I'm at maturity level 3, my roadmap to get to level 5 is this, and from the back of that we'll see a fallout of racking and stanky of plugins and development. I think that has to lie alongside the roadmap, because I agree with you, I have the same arguments on a semi-hourly basis in the military.
On the front.
Hello, my name is Michael. I'm working as an administrator for Moodle almost 15 years ago. Martin, at this place, thanks for the great project and thanks to the community to give me a job with some kind of sense. And I decided to give something back to the community. And so the small university I worked with, applied science university at Berlin, we made an integration to Collabora Online. And this plugin is since 3 or 2 months available over the database. And so you can install it as an activity and connect to the Collabora online server, and it works for spreadsheet, for work, document, and also, yeah, that's it. And for who doesn't know what Collabora Online is, it's a software LibreOffice behind it, and it's server-based, and it's open source, and I think it's a good alternative to Google Docs. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
It's directly, you know, we have the we have seen it with the rich document app from Nextcloud, and Davos Smith developed us for us this plugin, and the second part is this is still in work progress. Just a second. Sorry, I'm so nervous. A sub-plugin assignment submission, so that the students can work together on a document and upload it to assignment. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I'll be shorter than that. I just want to second that I didn't know that was existing, so good to hear. And I would encourage you to support that integration and Collabora, because we need good open solutions for document collaboration that are not Google or Microsoft. And I think Collabora, one project, making a really good effort at that, and we should support that. And tomorrow in Open EdTech, I'm sure this is going to come up. So yeah, I would love to see a good standard default solution for that, because I think all of us are using collaborative documents in our work, in our daily life all the time, right? But just because Google and Microsoft set up theirs first, it doesn't mean others can't.
We've got about time for about 4 more, so depending on how long you speak for, obviously.
Please, can you point at the
URL?
URL?
We've got going interactive.
In the tracker website.
I can't even use the Spanish keyboard, so I'm going to let you do that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I will use those. Thank you.
So this is an entirely new way of doing things. It looks like we're now getting people coming on stage. So if you want to queue up to come on stage, it's fine too.
That's me, sorry. Yeah. Hi, I'm Pablo from Argentina. I have 1 minute because I used one of them to load this page. And I want to talk to you about a problem we've seen with several audiences, but specifically with administrators. The Moodle administrators, the guys that have the admin user, enter every day and suffer some things. They really don't have a voice in the community. It is really difficult for those persons who are not developers to use this tool, which is fantastic for tracking bugs. It's really difficult. And their problems usually are not being solved. This is something we've been seeing. This, for instance, is it's been from 2013. And what I am proposing is really simple. You know, when you search a user and you put a name, I'm looking for John, and then you want to replace, you want to search for Mark, you have to first clean all the filters to add one.
Thank you very much, Pablo. If you'd like to catch up with Pablo after the session, Pablo would love to share it with you.
That's aggressive moderation for you right there.
Who's next?
Do you want to show something?
Just to take it easy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, go for it.
My business card. Go on.
Okay, so that's my name. Basically, I'm here because I'm founding a new kind of high school in Italy. I belong to a very interesting team. It's 3 people. I am a physics professor from university. The second one is a soccer player, one who was playing in the Italian team in the World Championship. I don't say the name. If you're interested, just get in touch. And the third one is a big executive of a car company, not from Italy. And we realized that our school has a lot of problems in Italy, and we're trying to have this project to do something interesting. And I'm accepting any kind of ideas or participation. It's in a very early stage. Actually, our school goes for kids from kindergarten already up to 14 years of age. We have 200 kids, and we are on the edge of founding the high school, which hopefully will start next September. So I'm here because I want to use Moodle on it in any way we can. Just has to make sense, of course, for the kids, right? That's it?
Okay, thanks very much. Cool. Shall I leave it on there? I'll take that off there and I'll give that. Great. Who do we have next? Thank you. Time for maybe 2 more. Håkon, are you coming on the stage or are you staying there? You're staying there. Right, okay.
Thank you. My name is Håkon. I have 3 small things. One is like the guy from Argentina. It's the admin page. The category manager needs a little love in the admin user filters so that you can find category managers. That's one. The second is H5, no, sorry, not H5P, you're doing that. But if activities can have a full screen mode, then that would hide a lot of extraneous navigation. So users stay inside the activity until they are done. And the third one, I think I forgot, so I'll stop.
Yeah, I do that too. Here's 3 points I'm going to make, and after the second one, totally lost the third one. Who else would like to contribute something to this new session? Yeah, make sure you introduce yourself first.
Okay, I'm Claudia Delgado, working for the IOC of UNESCO with my colleague here, Arno. Not really a question, more a couple of comments. I would like to thank Moodle for providing us with a fantastic platform for us to enable capacity development amongst our 150 member states. An issue that we've been finding is that we work with all kinds of member states and with all kinds of democratic levels, and we can't use many tools like, I will use the word Facebook, YouTube, and others. And therefore, we really rely on anything that a government will not want to block at some point. This is very important for us because many countries will really depend on our capacity development, are being blocked from receiving this training because of issues, democratic issues.
Thank you. Lucia?
No, nice. The watch is there, the clock is there. I felt mentioned because that replace filter options ticket there. There's a proposed solution which wasn't good enough. Actually, it was me who's trying to fix that, and it's harder than you might think. So the issue has 26 votes. So go there and vote if that's important for you. Would you appreciate any help? So I think it's feasible, but maybe not by one person only, or not by me only. And the second thing, for the full screen thing, go and take the plugin by the University of Nottingham. There's the full screen button. Always when I show people our Moodle, which has a child team of Boost Campus. So it's Boost and Boost Campus, there's our theme. But the full screen button is always there. Full screen button is really, really handy. So I don't see the need why in Boost, you never are able to skip out the right heights and the blocks. So if the block's there, you always lose the 300 pixel or whatever. So yeah, this could be taken into consideration, maybe to put in a fixed full screen button into Boost, maybe alongside with some nice scroll to top and all the things the students were showing us. They weren't explicitly there, but I'm sure they would have been in those mock-ups. That's all I have in mind. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to follow the UN Declaration on finishing sessions on time, and this session is not going to run over. So thank you for your participation, and could you give all of the people who bravely volunteered their opinions a round of applause? So now we're changing sessions, so if you're not expecting to hear from Toshihiro Kida from Kunamoto University talking about Moodle enhancement with VUI, etc., for realizing safety education in kids' safety, chemical experiments, and emergency nursing fields. Now is the time to beat a hasty exit. But other than that, I'm going to hand over to Toshihiro. Here we go. I'll let you go full screen, because I've just temporarily forgotten how to do that.
For you. Yeah, thank you. Hello. My name is Toshihiro Kita. I'll talk about this thing today. And we are a team consisting of researchers with different specialties like this. And I start with the maybe 2 or 3 minute summary. We intend to develop a safety education system in order to prevent serious accidents by providing education. And we now focus on 3 fields: child injury prevention, environmental safety engineering. That is, in other words, in narrow sense, chemical laboratory safety, and emergency nursing. And across these fields, we would like to explore for the safety education, how should Moodle and learning contents be enhanced and designed? For enhancement, we're thinking about, currently thinking about these enhancements. Add voice user interface to Moodle, and add chatbot type interface to Moodle, and new analytics model must be developed for safety education in Moodle, and add some engine to estimate learner's state to Moodle. And for the learning material designing, we think about these 3 outcomes are important. The first is knowledge of the risks. And with knowledge, you should be skilled. You have skill to deal with the risks. And most importantly, you should have positive attitude to prepare for the risks. That's a summary of my presentation. And safety education is very important, I think. And almost every day, several disastrous accidents around the world. And of course, physical preventive measures are very important, but also educating people and professionals will prevent such accidents, we believe. Right now, I mentioned we focus on three fields: child injury prevention, environmental safety engineering, and emergency nursing. One of the three fields is child injury prevention. Injury during childhood are leading cause of death around the world and a major health problem for children. And in that, often parents are blamed if they fail to prevent their children's injury, but they have little opportunity to learn about child injuries and preventive measures available based on scientific knowledge. And for environmental safety education, in research institutions such as universities, accidents caused by chemicals frequently occur. Some researchers and students are not aware of the risks, and and also they do not have opportunity to learn more. And appropriate procedures stipulated by law are not well known, and even they are known, they are not always followed by experimenters. So extensive and effective environmental safety education is required. So the last, emergency nursing, it said that the preventable trauma death that could have been prevented by appropriate measures exceeded 30% of the total trauma death in 2005. That's quite high rate, I think. And that the situation is in Japan, but I heard that in other countries the situation is almost same or even worse. So it's a critical task to construct a trauma medical care system for emergency medical care and improve the skills of the medical staff. To give emergency care to patients in cooperation with doctors, further improvement in clinical inference of nurses is necessary. And for safety education, we think about the three stages or three outcomes I just mentioned in the summary. Robert M. Garnier is an American educational psychologist. He said that the learning outcomes can be classified in several types, like verbal information, intellectual skills, attitude, and so on. In safety education, we think about each person should know the risk, be skilled to deal with the risk, have a positive attitude to prepare for the risk. Safety education is not completed if one has knowledge and skills, but no positive attitude. For example, they have the risks and they know how to deal with the risks, but if they think, maybe not today, tomorrow I will try to prepare for the risk or something, so the person has no positive attitude for the risks. So it's a very important point for kind of prevent danger things or risks. Except that the number three, the positive attitude is not so relevant to the nursing education because they are quite professionals. So to achieve that goal, I'm thinking about the Moodle enhancement like this. So let me do some demonstration right here. And Alexa, open Moodle quiz. Start a quiz.
Questions by saying 1, 2, 3, and so on. quizzes in the course named Voice UI, Demo Course 1 are available. There are several quizzes. Which quiz do you want to attempt? First quiz, or second quiz, or the other?
Seventh.
Quiz number 7. The total number of questions is 1. Question 1. Let's learn child safety tips. By 1 quiz per day, assuming common situations. Your child is playing in a park. Which of the following you should be most careful about? 1. He is digging a hole in the sandbox with his wet hands. 2. He wears sneakers and stand on a swing. 3. He is going down the slide with his hat under his butt. 4. He is running around wearing clothes with a hood.
2.
Your answer is 2. Here is your result. Quiz number 1. Incorrect. The hood may get caught in the protrusions or handrails of the playground equipment, causing the neck to get stuck and suffocate. Don't buy hooded clothes, or stuff the hood in the collar when playing. This is the end of the quiz. If you want to do it once again, say start a quiz.
Just like this, I connected Moodle to the voice user interface like Alexa, like the Amazon Echo product or Google Home product. And this is the sample of the quiz for the child injury prevention. And other planning is also going on. And this research project is the kind of 3-year project, and I'd like to extend to more fields as we develop many features of a safety education system. That is a URL of our research project website. Thank you very much.
All right, so does anyone have any questions? We've got a bit of time before the next session. Does anyone have any questions about what you've just heard? I was particularly impressed by my kids both have Google Homes in their bedroom. They're always doing quizzes and that kind of stuff. So linking up like this is a fantastic idea. Does anyone have any technical questions? Any questions about kind of procedurally how this worked? Martin's hand has just gone straight up there, so let's go straight in with Martin.
Kita-san, I know about this already. I've seen it before, and I'm glad you were able to bring it to a wider audience. I keep thinking, this is a hard question because I don't think there's an answer, but have you been thinking lately about the future of voice interfaces in general, given that we have this locked ecosystems of Apple and Google and Alexa, and it's kind of hard to fully integrate our software through these devices? How can we break that? How can we give Moodle like a full interface where we don't have to do all these hard hacks around? Have you got any ideas, apart from making a Moodle phone?
Yeah, that's a quite good and difficult question. And I'm now thinking the smart speakers or something like that will be very common in near future. That is supposed to be located almost every each home, and be quite common for everyone to interact with every day. Very handy and more handy than the smartphones, because we just have to talk to the speaker and just quickly get reactions. And also, when people talk to some people or some machine, how can I say, the emotional situation is a little bit different from the kind of conventional devices like this. And also, if machine talk to us, the feeling is kind of different, I think. And for that kind of purposes, safety education or some
if someone to persuade something or persuade someone to lead to some, how can I say, good direction, maybe that will be another channel for people to educate in another way. So it's not, how can I say, a nice answer, but something about I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? There's one here, just in the front row, just behind you. Please introduce yourself first.
Colin Sherwood. Just extending on Martin's question, I wonder whether you've done any testing or work around Mycroft, which is an open source voice assistant. Have you looked at that at all, or? It's an open source product called Mycroft, which is an open source voice assistant technology.
Not Google, not Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, I just know a little bit about it. But yeah, it's kind of, very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, I'm currently the Google and Amazon or some kind of proprietary services are very, very nice, and so we better use that kind of system for now. But maybe open source kind of system will catch up in the future. So I love to use that kind of system.
Cool. Any more questions there? No? Okay, well, all that's left is to give you a round of applause and say thank you very much.
Thank you.
While we're on this subject, actually, and while we've got a few moments, Mozilla have a project called Open Voice. So if you're like me, I have to pronounce my words at events like this, because I'm from the north of England, and I've got quite an accent when I don't try. Now, can you imagine coming from different parts of the world where Silicon Valley companies don't really care about this kind of stuff? Mozilla's kind of Common Voice, I think it used to be called Open Voice, now it's called Common Voice. What it asks you to do is to donate your voice so that you can improve these kinds of smart speakers. Google and Amazon and Apple have their own data sets, but Mozilla has an open data set so that you can use this through an API. And the more people who donate their voice to this, the better. So the Department of Economics houses its offices in the building today. Their microphone's not on this laptop. But then it finishes that, you press done, and you move on to the next one. So I actually do this several times a week, and I donate my voice to the project so that this open way of voice recognition gets better. So I think this is a great project. It's Mozilla. It's just voice.mozilla.org. And if you tell everyone about it, we'll not have lock-in to proprietary systems like Amazon and Google and stuff. All right then, well in 4 minutes time we have Andreas Husker talking, oh you're here already, cool. Well we can't actually start for the next 4 minutes, but you can certainly get set up, yeah? Are you using your laptop? Yeah. Excellent, well why don't you get set up and we'll start in 3 minutes. Yeah, you get set up, it's all good. This is the part where if you've got a song to sing or a dad joke to tell, this is the part where you might want to say that. So what was that? How much time do you want to take? You've got like 5 minutes? Yeah. 2 minutes? How much time do you want to take? 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So they tell you you've got 7 minutes and you've got 2 minutes left for the questions. Yeah. Oh, so you put it before your name, rather than after. Oh, good. Because then one's after. Because in the UK, we kind of do. When we're going to close, but like, we either do one or one off, and that's what and then you do some MBA somewhere else. That's before they make it longer and longer and longer. And that's the little become part of the name. Yeah. Okay, well, I make that 3 o'clock, so if you're not in the session, you're arriving late. So we now have Andreas Husker doing new reminder tool, conditional automatic messaging. Andreas is looking forward to your questions at the end. We'll have 5 minutes for questions. So please do think of those as Andreas goes through. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Andreas Husker. I'm the CEO of Didactic. We are the Austrian Moodle partner, and I was very impressed with the last presentation. This is really high-tech and looking into the future. The project we are presenting is a little bit more down to earth, what's possible today. We've been working on a simple, more or less simple reminder plugin, because that's everyday usage with our customers. So just to give you a short idea where we are located, we came all the way from beautiful Austria, and we've also got our chief developer here. He's taking the photos right there, so if you've got any technical questions, feel free to contact him as well. Who are we working for? We are working primarily in company environments, and this is where this plugin already originated. There's a lot of students or participants in this case, but we also work for universities in different contexts, providing Moodle services. We have got a strong focus on development. Enough about us, we just jump directly into the functionality, and we'll do it the simple way. What is it about? It's about to remind participants, based on certain conditions like enrollment date or some due date, and use automatic messaging, not do it by forum or by hand, just to get things done in time. So if you set it up, there will be automatic messages popping up for certain groups of people, meeting certain criteria, and this is quite a good way of getting things done. The long version. So what's the complete scenario? In corporate context, there's a lot of compliance training, safety trainings, and there's no tutoring or anything, and you have to put in like 2,000 students, and there are like 25 students coming in each week, and three participants are leaving the company, so there's a lot of fluctuations, and you actually need to do messaging based on enrollment dates or course start dates or end dates. In university context, we have this as well, like several groups going through the very same course, so it could be a scenario for university as well. This is very true, especially for untutored courses, whether if you just continuously pour in your participants and let them do stuff, where there's not a lot of interaction. I know this is not the best didactical case, but in some cases, this is how it works, and it might also be such as some section, like you do inverted classroom, and you want to remind your participants beforehand to get things done, to do the quiz or whatever, or act on resources before they come into classroom. There is also an extensive filtering option and reporting to trainers and participants and everything. That's more or less the further readings to get done. So we'll jump right in. What does it look like? It's a module. You can just add it to every course you would like to. And it sits in there. You can then choose whether it's visible for participants or just for teachers, and start configuring it. You just click on this one, and then you get an overview of what you can actually do in there. So this is the overview of messages set already. Just to give you a short insight what it is all about. The plan here would be to have a first reminder on something that's sent to Group A, and it's supposed to be sent at a fixed date. Yeah? Second reminder, it's supposed to be sent at everybody except Group A, for example. Third reminder is supposed to be set to Group B, which are the internals only, and so on. You can define whatever you would like. There's also the option to duplicate configurations, as we will see later on. There's a lot you can configure, and once you set up things right, like in Moodle everywhere, once you set up a quiz, you don't want to set up the second quiz the same way, you just duplicate. So this is what duplicate button is doing, like everywhere in Moodle. You can move things around, because generally you find out, well, I put in the reminders in the wrong order, there's supposed to be another one, you just move it up and down. And of course you can delete reminders, and this is the basic overview where you can also see how many reminder messages have been sent. So this just counts the number of participants or events where this certain reminder took place and was sent out. So if we click on the famous editing button, we go into the adaptive reminder message editing, and it looks like this. Yeah? So it goes down like half a mile, but don't worry. It's a lot to set up, but you only have to set it up once. You just think about what is the process in my course. You then can either just set it and forget it, duplicate courses and it would just fire out messages, or what I would recommend, you can use it in conjunction with other tools, like doing flipped classroom. Use a reminder in the first place to get students to do stuff beforehand, and then just use regular communication, your forums, your live-to-live, face-to-face presentations, or whatever. So to break it up, we start with the general settings. This is straightforward. This is just the name for the reminder, so you can identify what it was meant to be for. The description, it's a longer text where you can define just for you again to remember what's the actual task you want to cover with this one. Then we've got group filtering. These groups are the standard Moodle groups within your course. No matter how you get them within your course, they will be there, and you can select them. You can choose whether group filtering will be active at all or not. And if there are a lot of groups, in some courses we've got like 500 groups of 2 with 1,000 students, you could also select just 2 groups and invert the filter, so you get all the ones except the 2. Yeah? Next setting, you can use sending criteria to specify who will get the message. One task could be, you could send a message to all participants that have not yet been active within the course. Yeah? You could also filter on a specific enrollment date. So if you do group enrollment, for example, and people come in every 3 weeks, you could specify a message going only to the group 1 that came in like 4 weeks ago, and not the one that came in last semester. Then you set criteria concerning course completion. So you could send it to all users who completed the course, or all users who have not yet completed the course. And the same thing holds true for activities. So if you've got a quiz activity or anything else, you could select who have completed this activity, who have not completed, or all again. And the last section tells the module when to send the message. The easiest case is you just set an absolute date. Yeah? This is the most static version and will work all the time. You just select absolute time, set the absolute time down there, and that's pretty much it. So So I just put in the very same setup, a few other scenarios, so you won't be using this in one reminder message, but you could also set a relative time after course enrollment starts. Like 1 week after course enrollment, you tell them, okay, now it's time to do this and that. Yeah? Or you could even select relative time before course end date. So if the course is getting to an end, you say, okay, 2 weeks before the course end date, just remind them to do this and that. And as you can see, there are more criteria like course start date, course end date, course enrollment date, course enrollment end date, and you can also send reminders relative time to due dates of activities like assignment or quiz. Yeah? This makes it really flexible. It makes it a bit complex because you have to think beforehand how to reach which groups at which time intervals and how do you get them best, relative times or absolute times. Last thing is relative time before due date. Then you get a selection of activities which have completion criteria within the course. So it's not all activities, but the ones you can track with completion. And then you can select hours or weeks or days, whatever. The second last part is going to be to add a message. The message is more or less like an email. It turns out to be a message within the Moodle messaging system. In the end, in most cases, it will turn out to be an email message sent out to your participants. And you can use placeholders as well in the subject, as well as in the text. Placeholders like username, email address, and course name, just to tell them, do this and that. The last section is about reporting. Reporting can be turned on or off depending on your needs. You select the roles within your course that should receive the report message. You can also add additional email addresses. Sometimes the report is supposed to be sent to some support ticket system or supervisor who is not even in Moodle. And then the same holds true. Oops, sorry, it was too quick. And the same holds true with the placeholders for the report message. There you could use the course name, the course count, and a user field where it just sends you a list of user first name, last name, email address, and the count of users who have received this very message in this very context. Yeah. That's pretty much it. It's quite straightforward. In many cases, you will set up like 3, 4, 5 different messages and then have the system run on its own. Reporting is done via email, so everyone can stay up to the current status. And it will be provided for Moodle 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, and this week 3.8. So it will also be available for 3.8. There will be 2 versions. One free version that will be published most probably in January, and there will be a pro version with enhanced features, with special filtering, extended reporting, and stuff like this. This will be available on Moodle.org, and we'll also publish it on GitHub. Questions?
So I have 2 questions. Should that say January 2020? Yes. Right.
Yes.
And the second one, is everything that you presented there in the free version?
No.
Right.
The origin of the plugin is a block we made in like 2 years ago. Yeah. We are now refactoring it into a module because blocks are not really well supported in the mobile version. But like 2/3 of the functionality, especially, well, most of the functionality will be in there. There will be these conditions to relative dates. There will be more or less 2/3 of this will be in the free version. And what's not there already is will be extended reporting, where you can get not just emails, but you get reviews where you can see which message was sent to which person at which time interval and check this. And also there will be the part that will be visible for the participants, which is not yet available. So you have the option to tell your participants which reminders did they get, or did they just go through the course without any reminders.
Does anyone have any questions for Andreas? Hands straight up over there, Rowan. Just this gentleman here. Please do introduce yourself before you ask your question.
Good afternoon. So my name is Dominique from the University of Louvain in Belgium. I was just wondering, so this is something we really need actually, so to tell students what not to forget. If you send them several reminders, doesn't mean that they will read them, and they might be quickly fed up with a certain amount of messages they get, right? And they usually skip. So do you think about any kind of good practice? So how often, what type, or could you imagine a way we can also make sure students check, or users, clients, check the messages, and you kind of know who got them and can expect, okay?
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. In very active Moodle environments, my experience is that participants tend to just relocate their mailbox from Moodle to a specific location and just let everything go in there. So, but this is a general problem. It's not a specific problem of this tool. One thing that might help is generally doing, if you've got lots of messages coming up, using the mail digest function. I also expect the Moodle app with direct messaging to improve on this one, because then direct messaging makes more sense than having like 35 emails in your inbox at the evening. From the usage we have had this plugin, it's more like if you enter the course, you will get like, in the worst case, this is the case that you don't do things on time, you will get like 2 messages. The first one will be when you get automatically enrolled in the course, it will send a welcome message independent of your enrollment method. And if you finish the course, it will send a well done message. And in between, if there's like 2 compulsory things you have to do, there will be most probably like 2 reminders, one 2 weeks after you've been enrolled, for example, where tell get going, or is there any problem getting in? And then another reminder sometime before the end, when you lose access, either by end of the course or end of your enrollment. So it's like a handful of messages you would send from one course, spread over a time period of several weeks in general. So I'm absolutely with you. Use it at a very minimal level to take effect.
I have a top tip for sending emails to people. Use emojis in the subject line. Yeah, if you use the same emoji in the subject line for the same kind of message, then people can see in their inbox what kind of message it is. So if you use like the little timer emoji, for example, to remind someone about something, then they're more likely to get what type of messages that's being sent. Do we have any other questions for Andres? Please stick your hand up now. Yep, got one at the front here, Ron, please. Please introduce yourself before you ask your question.
Hi, I'm Bronwyn Campbell from Active Learning Partners. You may have covered it, but did the filters include being able to not send a message to users that have completed an activity?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's always the selection option to have completed, have not completed, or all users. This gives you all combinations you would want. Exactly. That's the main point. Otherwise, you could just cram everything into the forum and go do it. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Do we have any other questions for Andreas? We have one over here, this gentleman who's going to... Pardon? Price. We have a one-word question.
Pricing. The main reason why we do a free version, the pro version, is that we want to do good maintenance on it. Most probably will be in the range of like $200 per year for the module. It's not absolutely fixed yet. We still have to decide on which functionality is going into the free version, the pro version, but it's going to be a very reasonable price.
And that kind of plugin maintenance is the stuff that Martin was talking about yesterday in the session about it's really important that plugin maintainers can keep on going with their plugins, right? Make them sustainable. We've got time for one more question before the break, if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a question of Andreas. This is my very long teacher pause. Okay, well, can we thank Andreas? And then it's time for a break.
Thank you.